Welcome back. Tina Brown is the former editor-in-chief at Tatler magazine, Vanity Fair and The New Yorker. 15 years ago, Tina released the Diana Chronicles, dubbed a profound and in-depth look at Princess Diana's life and death. Now her new book, The Palace Papers, Inside the House of Windsor, tackles the highs and lows of the royal family, including the controversy surrounding the Duke of York and Harry and Meghan's infamous move to the US. Tina, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for sending us a copy of this. And I have been kept up very late at night reading it because it's genuinely a really good read, and it's a page-turning drama, really, of the ups and downs of the past 2 decades of royal life. And it struck me when I was reading the book that after Diana, the Queen effectively said, never again will one member of the royal family destabilise the whole institution like the way Diana and that whole situation did. And then I thought of Prince Harry and Andrew, and it seems to me that they've been having quite a good go at destabilising the institution and the Queen.
Well, that's right, in a different way. I mean, Diana's destabilisation was because she became bigger almost than the institution, which was something that they'd never encountered before. In the case of, Andrew and Harry, of course, Andrew was an explosion waiting to happen. Frankly, the way he'd been carrying on decade after decade, really kind of unpoliced in a sense about what he was getting up to. So that exploded as it inevitably would, frankly. Harry was, I think, the real kind of unsettling surprise. In a way, Harry has sort of continued his mother's legacy, essentially, of throwing hand grenades. And I think that's what they've found so destabilising about Harry, is they don't quite know when another one of the guns is going to go off, which is what we've been seeing, really, ever since, for the last 4 or 5 years.
And I was going to come on to Harry and Meghan in a bit, but more broadly, when you think about the monarchy, which you've studied for many, many years, and Britain, it seems that the monarchy is able to adapt and it has this ability to survive. Is it rather like the Terminator? It's a sort of something that's indestructible, do you think?
It is, or has proven to be, in the sense it's lasted for 1,000 years. But we are at a perilous moment, I think, in this particular time, because a lot of the dramas of the last 25 years I wrote about was somehow the Queen at the centre was always this still centre of composure.
In the storm.
In the storm. She was always going to sort of pull it together and pull it out. The difference now, of course, is we have a very frail Queen in the last twilight years of her life. And there won't be her as the composure at the centre to pull the institution around and keep on representing it with the same kind of gravitas. So that's much more concerning, I think, now, that the rocking in the boat somehow can be quelled for a while King Charles, which he will be, takes over and tries to right the ship.
So that will be a big danger point, you think, in the monarchy's survival?
I think it's a very, very unsettled point. And Charles is going to have quite a challenge, I think, in sort of calming all the troubled waters. And I think, personally, that the British people will actually rally to Charles because, there's a desire, I think, for this institution to continue. There hasn't been really any great, potent lobby in England to get rid of the monarchy, but it has been tarnished a great deal by these last few years. And Charles is going to have to figure out how to sort of start to really modernise the monarchy more than it has been, and also to find a way to kind of keep those troubles that have been assailing them at bay.
I want to go through the women now with you, briefly. Camilla, I mean, in the book, what you describe really is this turnaround for her, that over the decades, she's gone from this sort of villainous comedy character to someone who's accepted, if not quite loved, by the public. What genius was behind this rehabilitation of her, or rather, was it just, in your view, the passage of time?
Well, there was a lot of genuine professional efforts behind Camilla's rehabilitation. Mark Bolland, who was the communications secretary for Charles right after the end of the end of the Diana era, just as that was ending, he came in and he spent many a year carefully strategizing the sort of emergence of Camilla. But it was always a question, I think, not only of strategy and how she emerged, but once people came to understand who Camilla really was, as opposed to how she'd been demonised, that ultimately that final acceptance is Camilla's triumph, because people who get to know Camilla, who really see Camilla up close, love Camilla. So that was really, I suppose, what Charles knew. He knew if only people knew her like I know her, they wouldn't have the hostility to her. So, you know, it's been wonderful to see that, I think.
And you portray her in a very positive light in the book, as you do with Kate Middleton, the Duchess of Cambridge. Kate Middleton's very much the hero of your book, and you've spoken about the immense good luck William had in finding Kate, and as you just said, has become the rock of the family. In the book, you write of her serene empathy, as you put it, in sort of saving William. Does she have any edges at all? Is there any flawlessness in this character, or is she perfection?
No one is perfection, and I think that what I hear is that the Kate in private is a much more relaxed, loose, warm, you know, joshing kind of fun woman. But she has decided that the best way for her to present to the public is, in a sense, by taking a leaf out of the Queen's book and presenting a certain kind of inscrutability.
Yes.
And she's very savvy in understanding at a much more difficult time than the Queen, frankly, experienced, because when the Queen was in her early years, the press was completely deferential. I mean, there was no expose of going on behind the scenes. So but in this age, she's dealing with a much more invasive press, but she's found a way to kind of control her image, if you like, in a very smart way, as any kind of major movie star does. So she's very savvy, Kate, and not, I don't think, quite acknowledged for being quite the sophisticated strategist that she is.
What strikes me in the book, though, too, is, let's come on to Meghan. There's a sense of disdain for Meghan I pick up in this book, and it left me with the impression that you think she's rather spoilt. Is that fair, Tina?
Well, I actually don't think that there is disdain for Meghan in the book. I feel that I actually understand why she reacted as she did. How extraordinarily difficult it was for an outsider, an American, to come into this sort of tight, arcane family with all of its traditions and its history. And it was an absolutely, for her, sort of impenetrable experience. I think that she just didn't realise, as I think a lot of Americans certainly don't realise, that actually the royal way of life is nothing like the celebrity way of life. It's nothing like the life.
You're a royal or you're a celebrity.
Yeah, it's nothing like the California elite's way of life. It's nothing. I mean, it's actually, they live, you know, in a very unflashy way. Their vacations are you know, are in the rain often, tramping around, you know, having picnic outdoors. This is not anything, in a sense, that is as glamorous, I think, or as exciting or as desirable as most people on the outside looking at the glitter and glamour of being a princess. They're not seeing that. They're not seeing, quite frankly, the kind of frugal, threadbare aspect of the existence.
Tina, when you think of that couple now and speaking to lots of people, you spoke to dozens of people for this book, do you think that they can come back to the royal family? Do you think there's a way back for them? I mean, some of the things that you account, you know, it feels like maybe it's irreversible, these rifts.
It does at the moment, but I tend to feel there will be a desire to have the Sussexes back if something can be worked out where the Sussexes are happy and a role can be found that they can do. I think that really because after the death of the Queen, there is going to be such a huge seismic public reaction. There's going to be, you know, a sense of tearing of the fabric of this country with the passing of the Queen, who for 70 years has been the only thing we know. She's on the money, even. That I think that there will be a desire to have the Sussexes back just because they bring a connection to the younger part of this nation. You know, Harry was the most popular member of the royal family, and to have a beautiful, you know, dynamic woman of colour at his side was actually a fantastic thing for Britain. It really was. And there was a sense of great loss, actually, there in the palace, that it didn't work out. The question is whether Meghan will ever want to come back to this
I was going to say, you can see Harry maybe coming back, but Meghan
It's hard to
back?
imagine. It's hard to imagine Meghan will want to come back after everything that's passed. But, you know, time passes, and it's quite possible that this entertainment deals that they've done are going to not be as glittering as they expect.
Could you see a situation where Harry comes back and Meghan does not? I guess it's an impossible question
I think
to
that
answer,
this
isn't it?
marriage. I mean, I think that Harry is devoted to her and to the children. So I don't know how it could happen. But you know, the fact is that if you're a member of the royal family, you can be as boring as you like forever, and you're still going to be at the top of the bill. If you're in an entertainment world, you have to earn your place in it by having a hit, and that's very hard to accomplish.
But the next hit's going to be the memoirs, Prince Harry's memoirs, in September.
Harry has...
How damaging could that... Because you say there's a way back, and I think the comments about Kate making Meghan cry, I mean, those things Kate can't reply to, but must cut her quite deeply. The memoirs come out, what more revelations could happen?
I think that, you know, your original question, can they come back? I think that one of the questions is what is said in this memoir. And that's the part that everyone finds, in the family finds, very hard to understand why Harry's done that. Because to have that hanging over them as a kind of thing hanging out there of, like, what is he going to say, you know, just at a point when the Queen is at her most fragile, I think there's a huge anxiety about it.
That was the other question I had about the other person that does or doesn't come back, Prince Andrew. Obviously, he escorted the Queen at Prince Philip's memorial service, but is there any way back for him, or once the Queen isn't there anymore, his relationship with Charles is very fractious? Is that it for him?
I don't think there's a way back for Andrew. I really don't. I think that Andrew thinks there's a way back for Andrew. But I do not think there is a way back for Andrew. And I think that Charles will have to spell that out even more clearly than it has been spelled out thus far. To see him escorting his mother at Prince Philip's memorial was something that nobody liked the sight of. It felt so unfortunate. This person, so recently disgraced, had sort of managed to get himself into a position where he was right away, before the cameras, escorting the most revered a woman in the world.
But it speaks to the love the Queen has for her son.
The Queen, at this point in her life, I mean, it is her son and she loves her family, and she's always found a way to sort of differentiate between herself as sovereign and herself as a mother and a grandmother. And sometimes that for her has proved very, very painful, because she said that things become in conflict. I mean, she was ultimately had to deny her sister Margaret, you know, the love of her life, Peter Townend. But when it comes down to protecting the crown, she's always done that.
One final question for you. We are, as you said, drawing towards the end of the Queen's reign. She has lived longer than millions and millions of our subjects. Most of us can't imagine a world where she isn't there. She almost symbolises Britain and what Britishness is. How traumatic do you think it will be for the country when Queen Elizabeth is no longer there?
I think it will be an absolutely pivotal moment in this country. I think that the mourning will be intense, and not only for this remarkable woman and what she's been able to do in her life, for every day of her life, but also for a way of Britishness, perhaps, that she's always epitomised. She has come to stand, I think, for all the values that this nation holds dear, you know, stoicism, a sense of duty, a sense of fairness, a sense of doing the right thing. And to lose that, I think, is going to be a traumatic event.
Well, I think we're all dreading that moment, actually. Tina, thank you so much.
Thank you, Beth.
And as I said, I have thoroughly enjoyed this book, which I haven't quite finished because it's big, but it's good. Thanks so much.
Keep reading.
I'm going to get through it. Thanks for coming
Thank you.
to see me.
Thank you so much.